1949. The dust from World War II was still settling. President Harry Truman had just signed the document to form the Northern Alliance Treaty Organization, otherwise known as NATO. He visited Little Rock, Arkansas in June, and it was just after he left. A new life began in the city. Benny Wayne McLean. Ben's dad, Ben Sr., hadn't been home long from the war. He'd found work farming for Arkansas Agricultural Experiment Station, Rice Research and Extension Center. Not long after that, another war veteran gave birth to their second-born, Mary Lou, in the small agricultural town of Carruthers. That's the one with that airplane that looks like it's crashing into the gas station. She would later become one of the most important people Ben would ever meet. Mary Lou's father, Norman, took a job in the small coastal community of Cambria as an ag teacher at the high school, and he built a house not far from the beach. They had Calico the horse, and they had wide open spaces to explore. The civil rights movement had been gaining momentum in the United States. In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled in Brown v. Board of Education that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional. The governor of Arkansas defied the ruling. In 1957, there were 9 African American students. They were known as the Little Rock Nine. They attempted to enroll in Central High School, but there were protests. The governor enlisted the National Guard to prevent them from entering. They called this the Little Rock Crisis. President Eisenhower responded by federalizing the National Guard and sent in the 101st Airborne Division to make sure that they could safely go to school. Ben was probably a little young to understand all the complexities of what was going on around him, but the example set by his parents was that all men were created equal. In 1949, Alaska and Hawaii became 49th and 50th states. Meanwhile, Ben's family decided to move to California. Ben got the measles on the train ride over, and his family got kicked off the train. They finished the trip on a Greyhound bus and ended up in Arroyo Grande, California. The 1960s gave us the Beatles. Mary Lou was a big fan. Ben moved to Morro Bay in high school and picked up a 1947 Studebaker for his first car. He got a job at the Chuck Wagon in Cambria as a cook. Mary Lou came in and got hired as a waitress.
Hello, Mary Lou.
They started dating, but things got too serious for Mary Lou. She decided to move to Hawaii with her sister Kathy. Ben was lovesick, and he wasn't one to take no for an answer, so he bought himself a plane ticket and he flew on over to Honolulu to chase the girl of his dreams. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed the lunar module Eagle on the moon's surface on July 20th, 1969.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
While the world was watching astronauts landing on the moon, Ben and Mary Lou exchanged wedding vows, and they began their own brand new journey. Ben graduated the Psych Tech program at Atascadero State Hospital in 1970 and joined in the rapidly changing world of mental health treatment. Ash had just stopped using shock treatment and performing lobotomies on patients. Mary Lou got a job for the Board of Realtors in Atascadero. In 1973, they had their first child, while Ben was going to school. And he graduated in 1974 as a registered nurse. That same year, Patty Hearst, the granddaughter of the famed William Randolph Hearst, was abducted by radicals, held for 19 months. She robbed bank for her captors in a bizarre case that became synonymous with Stockholm Syndrome. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison. President Carter commuted her sentence in 1976. Not long after, the United States launched the spacecraft Voyager to expand the knowledge of just what is out there. Voyager sent back images revealing that Jupiter had rings. Ben and Mary Lou welcomed another son in 1977. Their little family was growing. They had wagons to ride in, cars to fix up, slip and slides, swings, hot dogs, fish to catch, licorice to eat, nails to nail, trees to climb, eggs to find, and motorcycles to ride. Somehow in the middle of all that, Ben and Mary Lou managed to take a European vacation, visiting Kathy, Glenn, Jen, and Casey, where they were living in Germany at the time. Computers were just getting big. Mary Lou got a job at Secretary of North County Christian School. This enabled her kids to get free tuition. Tony Hawk's vert ramp tricks and airs inspired the kids to start skateboarding.
Muff up!
Ben worked in a number of roles and was instrumental in getting ASH up to the standard of becoming an accredited institution. In 1987, Atascadero State Hospital was the world's largest hospital for the criminally insane. In 1988, it snowed in Atascadero.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. Soon after, the USSR fell. A new show called Friends first aired in 1994.
Decaf cappuccino for Joey. Coffee black. Latte. And an iced tea. I'm getting pretty good at this.
Excellent. That's good.
Good for me.
In 1995, they became empty nesters. Well, kind of. Ben found time to get out on his bike. Y2K caused widespread fear in the late 1990s. Many programs used only 2 digits for the year, raising concerns that systems would malfunction as the date flipped from 99 to 00.
Well, we made it. The dire predictions of the last several months dissolved in a potent mix of joy and celebration all around the globe last night. And that dreaded bug didn't bite.
Now that the Y2K scare was over, Mary Lou left NCCS and Ben left ASH to take a job working at the Capitol in Sacramento, while she worked at the company that paints the lines on the road.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Ben, I'm glad you accepted this position. I'll miss you. From all of us in CNS and NOD, thanks a lot. It's been great.
They moved again a few years later when Ben became the administrator of Coalinga State Hospital, which didn't yet exist. His final job? To build a new place specifically designed for the sexually violent predators who are currently housed at ASH in Atascadero. In 2005, Coalinga opened. Ben retired, and he and Mary Lou came back to live in an SVP-free Atascadero. In August of the year 2008, an economic bubble burst in what became known as the Great Recession. They spent the next few years fixing up their house, enjoyed their grandkids, cruised, visited some pretty interesting places. Then one day, Ben was out on his motorcycle, came up a little too fast on a curve. He destroyed his leg, smashed his face, and he was lucky to be alive. It took him a while to recover from that, but eventually he was back to work again, enjoying dates with Mary Lou all across the world and spending time with family. But there was one more surprise. Though the world didn't know it yet, the COVID pandemic was brewing over in Wuhan, China. Ben was tending to his garden, going to breakfast. Eventually the pandemic eased up, and things got back to normal. Traveled again, and spent more time with family. In 2023, they went back to Hawaii, the sisters that moved there together over 50 years ago. So much has happened in the last 75 years, and the example of hard work, reliability, selfless action, and love have been set out before us by amazing people like Ben and Mary Lou.
Sitting on the dock of